Rainer Schwarz started cooking at 15, not for fame, but because the kitchen was the one place everything made sense. The beloved executive chef and co-owner of Laguna Beach's Driftwood Kitchen and The Deck passed away tragically on Monday, April 6, 2026. He was just 59. A solo car accident near Dana Point stole him at 4:50 that afternoon, a quiet Monday that became the saddest day for Southern California's dining world. He was born in Klagenfurt, Austria, and left home as a young man to train in Switzerland, then crossed an ocean to follow culinary legend Joachim Splichal, earning his place at the legendary Patina and Pinot restaurants in Los Angeles through nothing but discipline and devotion. The late 1990s took him to Disney's Mondavi Project and the mountains of Colorado. In 2009, California called him back. And in 2013, he built something entirely his own, Sentinel Restaurant and Hospitality Group, where his philosophy was beautifully simple: let the finest seasonal ingredients speak for themselves. No Michelin spotlight, no television fame, just 30 years of quiet mastery, mentoring young chefs, and believing that a great meal could genuinely bring strangers together. His restaurants in Laguna Beach remain open, a living tribute to everything he believed in. He is survived by his wife Tasha and son Max, who carry his warmth forward. Do you have a memory of a meal or a mentor who changed how you see the world? Share it below. Someone needs to read it today. He fed people. He gathered people. That is enough to be remembered forever.
And the person they ended up arresting for the murder of my grandparents was my father.
Before she ever stepped in front of a camera, Dee Freeman spent 6 years serving her country as a United States Marine. Dee Freeman, the beloved actress cherished by fans of The Young and the Restless and Tyler Perry's Sistas, passed away peacefully on April 2nd, 2026. She was 66. Her family confirmed the heartbreaking news on Instagram, sharing that she had fought a brave and fearless battle against stage 4 lung cancer. She came to acting late, and she came to it on her own terms. Born in Louisiana, Freeman traded her uniform for a script in 1995, making her debut in the ABC sitcom Coach. What followed was 30 years of quiet, steady brilliance. The Young and the Restless in 1997 and again in 2009, then Seinfeld, The X-Files, ER, Dexter, Shameless, and so many others. From 2010 to 2015, she led her own satirical series, I'm Pretty the series, proof that she was never content simply filling a role. Someone else wrote the rules. Dee rewrote them. Even as cancer took hold, she never stepped away. In January 2026, just weeks before the end, she appeared in Tyler Perry's Sistas. Courage didn't leave her. It never did. Her publicist remembered her as someone with a quiet power that commanded respect without ever needing to demand it. She is survived by her children, Amber and Shane. Did Dee Freeman touch your life through her work? Leave a memory below. She deserves to be remembered by name, a Marine, a mother, a force of nature with angel wings now.
One person can't change the world, but one person carrying a message can change the world.
At 12 Grammys, the Country Music Hall of Fame, the Kennedy Center Honors, the Gershwin Prize, first country artist in history to receive it, 20 #1 hits, a guitar with a hole worn through its body by decades of bare hands, and also this, a son who did not make it to Christmas morning, a house that burned to the ground while he grabbed 2 things and ran, a government that came for everything he owned and padlocked the gates, a winter night when he lay down in the middle of a road, in the dark, and waited. 12 Grammys, and a man who had to decide more than once whether any of it was worth getting back up for. So before we talk about the legend, can we talk about the man? Because if you think you know Willie Nelson, you may only know the part he let you see. He came into the world on April 29, 1933 in Abbott, Texas. And the Depression was not a history lesson then. It was the temperature of the air. It was the dust on every windowsill and the silence between meals. His parents divorced when he was still small. His mother left for Oregon. His father remarried. And so Willie and his sister Bobby were handed to their grandparents, two gospel-singing people in a small Texas town who did the only thing they knew how to do with two lost children. They gave them music. His grandfather ordered guitar lessons by mail from Chicago. Willie was 6 years old when the guitar arrived. A few months later, his grandfather was gone. But the guitar stayed. And something in that small boy understood even then that some things outlast the people who give them to us. He wrote his first poem at 7, played his first gig at 9. By 13, that he was standing in honky-tonks with Czech and German polka bands, playing for people twice his age, his fingers pressing strings under a Texas sun that did not particularly care whether he succeeded or disappeared. He picked cotton when the music did not pay. He kept writing songs when the cotton did not pay either. He was restless in a way that had no name yet. But the road was already calling, and Willie Nelson was already learning to answer. But leaving Texas was not the dream. It was the dare. In 1960, he packed up and drove to Nashville, Tennessee, the capital of country music, the place where careers were made or quietly buried. He found work as a staff songwriter for $50 a week, and almost immediately, something strange happened. The songs he wrote became hits, just not for him. In 1961, Patsy Cline recorded Crazy. Farron Young took Hello Walls to #1. Ray Price charted with Nightlife. Willie Nelson was writing some of the most beautiful country music of his generation, and nobody knew his face. When he tried to record himself, Nashville was polite and cold. His voice was too unusual, his phrasing too relaxed, too behind the beat, like a man who had already made peace with time before the song was finished. The producers smoothed him down and stripped him out. The albums went nowhere. He sold encyclopedias. He sold vacuum cleaners. He kept writing songs in rooms that smelled like cigarette smoke and quiet failure. And then, in 1970, the house burned down. Picture it slowly. Ridgetop, Tennessee. Night. The smell of smoke before the sound of anything. Willie running inside, not for photographs or cash or the things a man is supposed to save. He came out carrying 2 guitar cases. One held Trigger, his battered classical guitar, already scarred and signed and irreplaceable. The other held something far less legal and far more him. He stood outside and watched the house go, and something in him did not grieve, not the way you might expect. He wrote later that he took it as a sign, a signal. Nashville was never going to love him the way Texas did. So he went back. He let his hair grow. He let his beard come in. He started playing exactly the way he played as a boy in those honky-tonks, easy and unhurried and completely himself. He began hosting 4th of July picnics in 1973 that drew thousands of people to open fields in the Texas heat, hippies and rednecks sitting side by side, wondering how they had ended up in the same place, deciding they did not mind. What happened next, no one in Nashville saw coming. In 1975, Willie Nelson walked into a studio in a suburb of Dallas and recorded Red-Headed Stranger in roughly 2 days. Columbia Records hated it. Too spare, too quiet. No strings, no production, no shine. They called it half-finished. He called it done. Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain went to #1. In 1978, he recorded Stardust, an album of pop standards from the 1930s and 40s. Every person in the music business told him he was making a career-ending mistake. The album sold over 5 million copies. His income that year climbed to $2 million. He performed on the South Lawn of the White House in 1980. Later, he admitted he had smoked marijuana on the roof with the president's son. He told the story the way he told most stories, gently, as if it happened to someone slightly more interesting than himself. That he co-founded Farm Aid in 1985, standing beside Neil Young and John Mellencamp, raising money for American farmers losing their land. He sang on We Are the World. He toured with Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, and Chris Christopherson as the Highwaymen, 4 outlaw poets sharing one stage. The man Nashville once turned away was now everywhere, and Trigger went with him, every night, every stage, the guitar's body developing a hole worn through the wood by decades of his right hand, the pick moving in the same arc, night after night, year after year. Signed by Cash, Christopherson, and Jennings, scarred by time, still singing. He once said simply, "When Trigger goes, I'll quit." He meant it. And then came the year that nearly erased him. The IRS knocked on every door at once. Federal agents arrived with paperwork, with padlocks. And the ranch in Texas gone, the recording studio gone, the instruments, the property, the accounts, all of it seized. The government said he owed $32 million. Even after his lawyers negotiated it down, even after everything, the number was $16.7 million. His daughter Lana told a reporter at the time that her father, perhaps the most bankable country star in America, did not have $1 million. Probably did not have $30,000. His wife Annie, who had just married him, who had 2 small children with him, remembers the 4 of them living in a small condo. Micah was still a baby. They had lost the house. She had been told before the wedding that she would inherit $19 million in debt. She married him anyway. He asked her once why. She said she was not there for money either way. And he did not file for bankruptcy. "I never intended," he said, "and never will do a bankruptcy where the people I owe get screwed out of their money." So he made an album, just him and Trigger, no band, no production. He called it The IRS Tapes, Who'll Buy My Memories, and he wore a shirt with a fake toll-free number on television to sell it. The IRS collected the proceeds directly. Fans showed up to the auctions of his possessions and bought them, then quietly, without announcement, gave them back. But before the debt was settled, before the lawyers finished, before the year was done, Christmas came. December 25th, 1991. Willie Nelson's son Billy, 33 years old, died by his own hand in a cabin in Tennessee. There are no words that fit here. Man, there is only the silence of a father on the other side of a phone call that does not end the way any phone call should. He did not stop. That might sound cold. It is not. It is the only language some men have for grief. The road, the songs, the bus. Honeysuckle rows rolling through the dark between cities, the sound of the engine the only constant, the only thing that did not ask him to explain himself. He settled his debt with the IRS by 1993. He kept moving. Because here is the lesson he never delivered as a speech. He just lived it. You do not have to be unbroken to be strong. You just have to decide, one more time, to get back on the bus. He was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 1993. He received the Kennedy Center Honors in 1998. The Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award came in 1999. In 2015, the Library of Congress gave him the Gershwin Prize. The first country artist ever. He accepted it wearing his braids and his old jeans and looked completely unbothered by the formality of the room. At 90 years old, he stood on a stage for a birthday concert that drew artists from every genre, every generation, everyone who had ever been changed by a song he wrote in a $50-a-week office in Nashville while nobody was watching. He still sleeps on Honeysuckle Rows, and the 5th version of the bus. Fueled by biodiesel, he helped champion. Rolling through the same country that took everything from him and somehow gave most of it back. Trigger still has the hole in it. He once said, "Once you replace negative thoughts with positive ones, you will start having positive results." It sounds simple. Coming from a man who lay in a winter road waiting to disappear, who buried a son on Christmas, who packed an album of memories to pay a government debt, it sounds like the hardest sentence a human being ever learned to mean. And he also said something quieter, something that sounds less like wisdom and more like a man talking to himself on a long night in Texas. I'd go back and play all those beer joints where I grew up and wouldn't have to change a thing. They all liked what I did. So I knew that what I was doing, I could do it forever. That was the whole secret. Not the Grammys, not the Hall of Fame, not the White House lawn. Just a man who figured out, early and painfully, that the only performance worth giving is the honest one, and then spent 90 years proving it. Tonight, somewhere in America, Honeysuckle Rose is moving down a dark highway. Willie Nelson is on that bus. Trigger is in its case nearby, whole and all, holding the signatures of the dead and the memories of the living. And somewhere ahead, there is a stage. And he will walk out onto it. At 91 years old, the road could not break him. What does that make you think about the roads you are still traveling? If his story stays with you tonight, leave his name in the comments. Not for us, for him. And if you want more stories like this about the lives behind the legends, you know where to find us.